Have you ever been thrown out of your own life, so fast you did not even realize you were falling until you hit the cold ground? Because that is what happened to me. One moment, I was a wife, with a home, a name on the mailbox, a baby on the way, and a future I thought was already written. The next moment, I was standing in the rain, 7 months pregnant, holding a suitcase that was not even fully packed, staring at a gate that would not open for me anymore. And here is the part you will not believe. A few hours after they kicked me out, while I was shaking under a bus shelter with nowhere to go, I found a torn duffel bag under the bench. It was heavy, primera intete italiano, and inside was more money than I had ever seen in my entire life. Enough to ruin someone. Enough to save someone. Enough to make you question whether God was helping you or testing you. So, if you are watching this right now, stay with me. Because by the end of this story, you will understand something most people never learn until it is too late. The people who break you are not always the villains. Sometimes they are the door, and the moment they slam it in your face is the moment your real life begins. Let me take you back to the night my marriage died quietly, the way things usually die. Not with screams, not with a dramatic goodbye, with silence. I stood by the kitchen window with one hand on my belly, watching city lights smear into reflections on the glass. The house behind me looked perfect, the kind of perfect that fools strangers, the kind of perfect you post online. Everything clean, everything in place, everything dead. Dinner was on the table. Roast chicken, lemon, garlic. His favorite. The smell used to mean home. That night, it meant nothing. I checked the clock, 10:42 at night. He was late again. My husband, Daniel, had been late so many nights that my heart started to stop expecting him. But my body still reacted every time I heard a car outside. Hope and dread, like two hands squeezing the same nerve. He told me work was intense. Big deals. Big pressure. Big future. But love does not sound like an obligation. Love does not say your name like it is a chore. By 11, I could not sit still anymore. My ankles were swollen. My back hurt. The baby shifted like he was restless too. I packed the food into a container, grabbed my keys, and walked out into the rain without an umbrella. Because at that moment, the rain felt honest. Daniel worked downtown in a glass building that looked like money and power. The lobby was quiet. A night guard nodded at me like he had seen me before. I think he had watched me come in more than once, pretending to be fine, pretending this was normal. The elevator carried me up like a confession. When the doors opened on his floor, I saw it immediately. His office lights were still on. Through the glass wall, I saw him sitting across from someone, a woman. At first, my brain tried to protect me. Coworker. Meeting. Late presentation. Then I saw the way he looked at her. Relaxed, warm, amused. The way he used to look at me. She laughed and leaned forward, touching his hand with the kind of casual confidence a woman has when she knows she belongs where she is sitting, and Daniel did not move away. My throat tightened. I stood there frozen in a hallway that smelled like expensive carpet and burnt coffee, holding a container of dinner like an offering no one wanted. When Daniel finally noticed me, he did not panic. He looked irritated. "Emily," he said, flat and sharp. "What are you doing here?" The words landed like a slap. I tried to speak, but my mouth would not cooperate. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my fingertips. "I brought you dinner," I finally whispered. The woman stood up quickly, pretending to gather papers, as if she had been caught doing something shameful. "I should go," she said. Daniel waved his hand, like she was not going anywhere. "No, it is fine." Then he turned back to me, sighing. "This is embarrassing, Emily. You cannot just show up here." Embarrassing? Not heartbreaking, not cruel, not wrong. Embarrassing. I felt something crack inside my chest, something that had been holding on by stubbornness for months. "Working late," I said softly. "This is what you call working late?" His jaw tightened. "You have been acting crazy, ever since you got pregnant," he snapped. "Focus on your health instead of playing detective." Crazy. That word is a weapon. It makes you question your instincts. It makes you apologize for seeing what is right in front of you. "I am not crazy," I whispered. "I just miss you." For a moment, his eyes flickered, like something human tried to rise. Then it died. "Do not do this here," he said coldly. That was the moment I realized I could cry in front of him and it would only annoy him. So I turned around and walked away before I collapsed. The elevator ride down felt endless. When I stepped outside, the rain hit my face like punishment. I walked home, soaked, holding my belly like I could protect my baby from the stress my husband was pouring into my bloodstream. When I got home, the house was empty. The chicken was still on the table untouched, and in the morning, when I heard a car pull up, hope flared in me like a stupid match. But it was not Daniel. It was his mother. Helen Parker stood on my doorstep with 2 housemaids behind her, her expression calm and cruel like she had practiced it in the mirror. She stepped inside without asking. "Daniel is not coming home," she said. My throat went dry. "What do you mean?" I asked. Helen looked at me like I was something sticky on her shoe. "You have made things difficult for him. The crying, the jealousy, the drama. He needs peace." I stared at her, stunned. "Peace," I repeated. "He is cheating on me." Helen's lips lifted into the thinnest smile. "Men make mistakes," she said, and then she said the sentence that changed me forever. "But marrying you was the worst mistake my son ever made." I felt the room tilt. I had no money of my own. Daniel controlled accounts, bills, everything. I had left my job when pregnancy got hard, because he told me we could afford it. He told me I deserved to rest. Now I realized rest had been a leash. "I am carrying his child," I said, voice shaking. "Please, let me talk to him." Helen raised her hand. "Enough." Then she nodded to the maids. They walked past me and started opening closets like they owned the air in my home. My suitcase appeared. My clothes were folded with no care. My life was being packed like trash. I stood there with my hand on my belly, unable to process that I was being evicted from the place I cleaned, cooked in, slept in, prayed in. "I have nowhere to go," I whispered. Helen's eyes hardened. "Then you should have behaved like a wife who deserved to stay." The gate closed behind me. Literally, they walked me out, left my suitcase on the pavement, and shut the world in my face. I stood outside in the damp morning, 7 months pregnant, watching the house I had decorated shine behind iron bars like it never belonged to me. I waited. I told myself Daniel would come. He would call. He would fix this. Hours later, his car came down the road. My heart jumped. I stepped forward, wobbling weakly. He did not stop. He did not even look at me. He drove past the gate like I was a stranger. That was the moment the last thread inside me snapped. By afternoon I was walking with no plan, no umbrella, no dignity left to protect. I went to the old apartment where my parents used to live. A stranger opened the door and told me my family had been gone for years. I had no one. My phone was dying. I called Daniel. The line did not ring. A cold, automated voice told me the number was no longer in service. He had disconnected his number, like I was never supposed to exist. I found a bench in a park and sat down. That is where I cried, the kind of cry that does not sound human. People walked by. Some glanced at me and looked away fast. Night fell. The rain returned, and by the time I reached a bus stop at the edge of town, I was so exhausted my bones felt hollow. I sat under the sheltered roof and whispered to my belly, "I will not give up on you. Even if nobody wants us, even if I do not know what to do." I stared at the wet street until it blurred, and then lightning flashed. And that is when I saw it, a dark shape under the bench, half covered by cardboard, a torn black duffel bag. I should have ignored it, but something in me needed a sign. So I pulled it closer. My fingers caught the zipper. And when I opened it, my breath stopped. Stacks of cash, neat bundles, wrapped tight. Enough to make my hands shake, enough to make my mind go silent. I looked around, expecting someone to run back for it. Nobody came. The street was empty. Just rain. Just me. Just a miracle that felt like a trap. And that is where my real story begins. I did not celebrate. I did not laugh. I did not feel lucky. One felt terrified. Because money like that is never casual. It is never random. It has a history, and history always comes looking for what belongs to it. I zipped the bag halfway and held it to my chest like it could keep me warm. My first thought was to call the police. Then reality punched through that idea. If I call the police, they will ask questions. Where did you find it? Why were you there? Why are you alone at night? 7 months pregnant, with no address, and if the wrong person hears I have it, I do not get a lecture. I get a problem. So I did the only thing I could do. I walked. Fast. With my suitcase in one hand and the duffel bag in the other, moving like a woman trying to outrun shame, I found a cheap motel with a flickering vacancy sign. The clerk did not care who I was. He wanted money. One night, he said. I nodded. He named a price. I peeled off a bill from the bag like it burned my skin. When he handed me the key, my hands were trembling. Room at the end of the hall. The room smelled like old smoke and harsh cleaner. The bedspread had a stain I did not want to look at too long. But it was a door that locked. A roof. A place where no one could drag me out by my dignity. I set the duffel bag on the floor and stared at it for a long time. My mind kept trying to make sense of it. Was it stolen? Was it drug money? Was it someone's life savings? Was it a setup? Then the baby moved, a slow roll inside me, as if reminding me that moral puzzles are easier when you are safe. We were not safe. Huead. No home, no food, no doctor, no plan. So I made a promise to myself. I will not be reckless, but I will not be a martyr either, because my baby does not eat pride. The next morning I used a small amount to buy food and a phone charger. I found a diner and sat under warm lights like I belonged among normal people. I ate eggs and toast, like it was the first real meal in weeks. And while I ate, I saw a sign taped near the register. Help wanted. Dishwasher. Evening shifts. My stomach tightened. A dishwasher job was not my dream. But dreams are a luxury when you are pregnant and homeless. I asked the woman at the counter if the job was still open. She looked me up and down, saw the belly, saw the exhaustion. Then she nodded. You can start today. She handed me a form. Name, she said. That is the moment I hesitated, because my name was dangerous now. Emily Parker was a ghost they could hunt. So I wrote a new one. Emma Collins. It felt like stepping into a different skin. That day I washed dishes until my back screamed. But when my shift ended, and the manager handed me a small envelope of cash and said, "Good job," I nearly cried again. Not from pain, from relief. Because for the first time since the gate closed behind me, I was earning my own survival. I found a tiny apartment. 1 room, cracked paint, a heater that hissed like a tired animal, but it was mine. I hid the duffel bag under a loose floorboard and stared at it like it was a sleeping snake. Days became weeks. I kept my head down. Work, sleep, repeat. I avoided social media, avoided old friends, avoided anywhere Daniel might appear. But the past does not disappear just because you stop looking at it. One night after a long shift, I sat on my mattress and scrolled the news on my phone. The screen flickered with an article about a corporate scandal downtown. Parker and Holt developments under investigation. My blood ran cold. Daniel's company. I read more. Allegations of fraud, missing investment funds. Rumors of cash payments and offshore accounts. My hands started shaking, because suddenly the duffel bag under my floor was not just money. It was a headline. It was a crime. It was a bomb with a timer I could not see. I told myself it was a coincidence. Then my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Just one sentence. We need to talk. And attached was a photo. The photo was old, blurry, taken from a distance. But it was me at the bus stop. That night, holding the bag, my heart stopped so hard I thought I might pass out. Someone had seen me. Someone had watched me. Someone knew. And whoever it was did not sound like they wanted to congratulate me. They sounded like they wanted what I had. For a full minute, I could not move. I stared at the photo until my eyes burned. Then I forced myself to breathe. Slow. Quiet. Like panic was a luxury I could not afford. I did not respond. I turned off my phone. I sat in silence, listening to the heater hiss, my baby shifting inside me, and the thin walls of my apartment holding nothing but secrets. The next morning I went to work like nothing happened, but my body betrayed me. My hands shook when I poured coffee. My chest felt tight. Every time the diner door opened, my heart jumped, because I kept imagining a stranger walking in, sitting down, smiling like they had a right to my life. By the end of my shift, the manager pulled me aside. "You look pale. Emma, you okay?" I nodded. Just pregnant, tired. It was the easiest lie. That night, I bought a cheap camera from a pawn shop with cash from my tips. I told myself it was for safety, a way to see who was outside my door. Really, it was because I did not trust the world anymore. I installed it facing the hallway. Ten primera, white it, at 3 a.m. The camera notification buzzed. Motion detected. My stomach dropped. I opened the feed. A figure stood outside my door, not moving, just standing. Hood up, face hidden. They leaned close to the peephole, like they were listening to my breathing. Then they slid an envelope under the door and walked away. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely pick it up. Inside was a single piece of paper. "Return the bag, or the father will find you." I sat down hard on the floor. The father. Daniel. My mind went numb, because until that moment, Daniel had been a memory, a wound, a betrayal. Now he was a threat again. I forced myself to think. Who would say the father will find you unless they knew Daniel, knew my pregnancy, knew enough to weaponize it? It meant this was not random street crime. It was connected. And then the worst part hit me. If the money belonged to Daniel or his company, and if someone else was looking for it, then Daniel was not just a cheater. He was involved in something bigger, something that could swallow me whole. I could not run forever. Not with a baby coming. So I made a decision that terrified me. I went back to the beginning. The gate. The mansion. Not to beg, to get answers. To get answers. The next day, I took a bus across town and walked toward the Parker house, heart pounding like a drum. The gate was still there. The house still perfect behind it, but something was different. A for sale sign on the lawn, moving trucks in the driveway, workers carrying furniture. The Parker world was collapsing. I watched from across the street, hidden behind a tree like a criminal. Then I saw her. Helen? She looked older, sharper, more frantic. She was arguing with a man in a suit, waving papers, shouting in a voice I had never heard from her, not controlled. Desperate. That is when my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. This time, a video. I opened it with shaking fingers. The video showed Daniel not smiling, not confident. His face was bruised, his eyes wild. He was in a room with harsh lighting, breathing fast, like a trapped animal, and he was talking. "Emily," he said, "my name, my real name. You have to listen. They set me up. Claire took everything. They say I stole the money, but I did not. I need the bag. If I do not get it back, I am going to prison." And then his voice dropped. "And if I go down, you go down too, because someone saw you take it." My vision blurred. I felt sick. He knew. He knew I had it, and he was not asking. He was warning. The next line made my blood freeze. "Meet me tonight, or I will come to you." And as if the universe wanted to make sure I understood how close the danger was, I heard sirens outside my apartment that evening. Close and fast. And I saw police lights flashing down my street. Not for me. Not dit, but near enough to remind me how quickly a life can be taken apart. I looked at my belly and whispered, "I will not let them destroy us." Then I grabbed the duffel bag from under the floorboard. And I did something I never thought I would do. I walked straight into the night toward the man who broke me, with 5 million reasons to be afraid. I met Daniel in a place that matched what he had become. Not a restaurant. Not a nice office. A half-abandoned construction site near the river. Steel beams. Concrete dust. Fences with ripped caution tape. The kind of place where echoes make you feel like someone is following you even when you are alone. I stood under a streetlight with the duffel bag at my feet, trying to look braver than I felt. My baby shifted, like he was angry at my fear. Then Daniel stepped out of the shadows. He looked nothing like the man I married. He was thinner. His shirt was wrinkled. His eyes were frantic. He walked toward me with his hands out like I was holding a gun. "Emily," he said, voice low. I took a step back. "Do not say my name," I said. He flinched, like my voice surprised him. "I do not have time," he said. "You brought it." I stared at him. "You threw me out," I said. "You let your mother throw me out. You drove past me like I was nothing." His jaw tightened. I did what I had to do. I laughed, a short, broken sound. "You always do." He took another step forward. "Listen to me. Claire is gone. The investigators are closing in. People want their money. Dangerous people." My stomach turned cold. Dangerous people. "So it is true," I said. "It was not just cheating." "You were stealing?" he snapped. "I was not stealing. I was moving funds. Temporary. Everyone does it. Everyone. That is the lie men like him tell themselves so they can sleep." I looked down at my belly. "You put your child in danger," I said quietly. His eyes flickered to my stomach. A moment of something softer passed. Then it hardened. "I need the bag, Emily." I swallowed. "What happens if I give it to you?" He exhaled. "I fix it. I make it right. I keep you safe." I stared at him. "You have never kept me safe." His face twisted. "You are being dramatic." There it was again. That same word. The same dismissal. The same attempt to shrink me. Something inside me rose, hot and sharp. "I am not dramatic," I said. "I am awake." And then I did the thing he did not expect. I picked up my phone. I hit record. Daniel's eyes widened. "What are you doing?" I kept the camera on him. "Say it again," I said. "Say the money is missing. Say you need it back or you go to prison." He froze. "Turn that off," he hissed. "No," I said. "You have been controlling the story for too long. Longer that, may my instincts kicked in." I stepped back and screamed. Loud. Sharp. The sound cut through the empty sight like a siren. Daniel stopped. Not because he cared, because he was afraid of witnesses. For a second, we both stood there, breathing hard. Then he lowered his voice. "Emily, do not do this. You do not understand who you are messing with." I stared at him. "I understand exactly," I said. "I understand you." And then headlights flooded the site. A car rolled in, slow. Not police. A black SUV with tinted windows. Daniel's face drained. He whispered, "No." The SUV stopped. 2 men got out. One of them smiled. Like this was entertainment. "Daniel," he said. "You have it?" Daniel glanced at me, then at the duffel bag. My heart slammed. This was bigger than a marriage. This was money tied to people who do not argue. They collect. Daniel stepped closer to the men, hands raised. "Listen," I can explain. The smiling man's eyes slid to me, to my belly, then back to Daniel. "You brought your wife," he said, amused. "That is cute," Daniel snapped. "She is not my wife anymore." The words hit me like ice, not because I was surprised, because it confirmed everything. He would throw me away again if it saved him. The man nodded, still smiling. "Where is the bag?" Daniel pointed at it. The man walked toward me. Slow, not threatening with a weapon, threatening with confidence. Like he knew, the world bends for people like him. My breath caught, and then, in the middle of that moment, my baby kicked hard. A sharp reminder: do not freeze, do not surrender. So I did something no one expected. I grabbed the duffel bag and ran. I ran as fast as a 7-month pregnant woman can run, which is not fast, but it was desperate. Behind me I heard Daniel shout, "Emily, stop!" The men yelled. "Get her!" Footsteps pounded. My lungs burned. The world narrowed to breath and terror. Then my foot caught on loose gravel. I stumbled. I almost fell. I protected my belly with my arms and crashed to my knees. Pain shot up my leg. I cried out, and then a hand grabbed the strap of the duffel bag. I looked up. It was Daniel. His eyes were wild. "Give it to me," he hissed. "Please." Behind him, the men were coming closer. Daniel's face twisted into something ugly. "If you do not give it to me," he said, "I will tell them you stole it." I stared at him, shocked by how fast he chose betrayal again, and in that split second, I realized the truth. Daniel was not scared for me. He was scared. I was holding the only thing that could buy his escape. So I looked him in the eyes and I said, the calmest sentence I have ever said, "You already lost me." Then I pulled the duffel bag toward me and tore the zipper open. Daniel blinked. "What are you doing?" I reached inside and grabbed bundles of cash, flinging them into the air. Money exploded into the night like confetti. The men cursed and lunged, instinctively grabbing at bills. For one chaotic moment, greed turned them into children. Daniel froze, stunned. And that was my opening. I pushed myself up, ignoring the pain, and I ran again. This time, I ran toward the river path, where shadows could hide me. I heard shouts behind me, but the footsteps were slower now, because money makes people forget priorities. My vision blurred with tears and rain, but I kept moving until my body screamed. And then I saw it. A patrol car on the road above the path. Lights on. Not for me, but close enough. I screamed again. "Help!" The officer turned, startled, seeing a pregnant woman stumbling out of the dark, soaked and shaking. He ran toward me. "Ma'am, what is going on?" I could barely breathe. "Someone is after me," I gasped. He looked past me into the darkness, and in the far distance he saw them. Men in black, a man running. Daniel, the officer's hand went to his radio. "Stay behind me," he said. And in that moment, for the first time in months, I felt what safety actually feels like. Not promises, not apologies, protection. The officer called for backup. Daniel stopped running the moment he saw the uniform. The men in black melted back into the darkness like they had never been there. That is what predators do when the light turns on. They pretend they were never hunting. I leaned against the patrol car, shaking, one hand on my belly, the other gripping the strap of the duffel bag that now felt lighter because of the cash I had thrown. The officer asked my name. I hesitated. "Ten primera, sai d'italiano, Emily." Because in that moment, I realized hiding my name would not save me anymore. Truth would. More police arrived. Questions hit me like hail. Why were you there? Who were those men? Where did you get the bag? I told them what I could, not everything. Because some truths can protect you and destroy you at the same time. But Daniel was there now, standing under flashing lights, trying to look like a victim. He pointed at me. "She took it," he said. "She found it and kept it." I stared at him, disgusted, and that is when I did the smartest thing I have ever done. I handed my phone to the officer. "I recorded him," I said. "Eh?" "Confessed. He threatened me." The officer looked at the screen. His expression changed, because evidence changes everything. Daniel's face tightened. "Emily," he warned. The officer stepped between us. "Sir, you need to be quiet." Daniel opened his mouth again. Then another police vehicle pulled in, and an investigator stepped out, looking straight at Daniel like he had been waiting for this moment. "Daniel Parker," the investigator said, "you are under arrest for fraud and embezzlement. You have the right to remain silent." Daniel's knees nearly buckled. He stared at me like I had become a stranger, like he could not believe the woman he discarded had become the one holding the match. As they cuffed him, he hissed my name like a curse. "Emily." I watched him get pushed into the back of a car, and instead of feeling joy, I felt something quieter. Release. Because finally, the truth was not trapped inside me anymore. It was in the open, and it was on record. But the story did not end there. Because money like that does not just disappear. Investigators searched. They recovered some bundles near the construction site, soaked and scattered. Not all. They asked me if I kept anything. I looked at my belly and felt the war inside my chest. If I tell them everything, I lose my baby's future. If I lie, I carry a secret that could swallow me later. So I did something that might surprise you. I told them enough to protect myself, and I asked for legal help. A public advocate came. A social worker came. For the first time, I did not have to beg at a gate. People actually listened. Daniel's mother tried to contact me. At first, I ignored her. Then she showed up at the shelter where they placed me temporarily, her face pale, her confidence gone. She looked at my belly, and for the first time, she looked like she understood what she had done. "Emily," she whispered, "please." I stared at her, and I said the truth she deserved. "You threw me out in the rain. You do not get to ask for mercy now like you invented pain." Her lips trembled. "My son is ruined," she said. I nodded slowly. He ruined himself. Months later, I gave birth to a healthy baby boy. I held him in my arms and cried because for the first time, my tears were not for a man. They were for a new beginning. The investigation continued. Claire, the woman Daniel had been with, disappeared. The men in black were never found. The official story on the news was simple. Corporate fraud. Missing funds. Disgraced CEO. But my story was different. Mine was about survival, about how betrayal can either bury you or build you. Now, here is the moment I need to say something directly to you. Because if you have ever felt discarded, replaced, humiliated, or thrown out of a life you helped build, listen to me. The worst thing they do is not leaving you. The worst thing is making you believe you cannot live without them. If this story touched something in you, subscribe. Not for me, for you. Because if this resonated, it means you are ready for more. Ready to stop begging for love that has to be negotiated. Ready to stop calling your instincts crazy. Ready to stop confusing suffering with loyalty. And if you want to keep going with me, watch the next story on this channel about what happened after Daniel went to prison and why the money still haunted me, even when I thought I was finally safe. Because some endings do not end. They transform. And sometimes the bag you find in the rain is not a blessing. It is the test that proves who you really are.